Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host, Flavia Barris, as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Cathy Fyock. She is the Business Book Strategist. She works with professionals who want to write a book as a business or career growth strategy. Welcome to the show, Cathy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And I love books. I have to say I'm a book nerd. I was an English major in college. I used to read books to the point where my family would say, "Are you okay? Like you've been holed up with that book do you need food, water, something?"
Yeah,
so
right.
Let's talk books. What was your journey to take you from the very beginning to where you are now, which is really focusing your career on books and helping authors?
Well, I never would have dreamed I would have ended up where I am. Before I was a book coach, I was a human resources consultant, was a speaker and author. And what I found was that authorship was one of the most important things that I did to grow my business and to become a thought leader and an expert. And at some point after 20 some odd years as a human resources consultant, I was burned out. I had left my own business. I was working for somebody else. I knew I wanted to return to my own business, but was not quite sure what to do or how to do it. And I got a call from my chapter of the National Speakers Association. And the president said, "Cathy, I heard a rumor that you wrote one of your books in less than 6 weeks. Is that right?" And I said, "Well, actually, I wrote at the time 4 out of my 5 books in less than 6 weeks." And he said, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that? Do you have a process?" And I thought about it for just a moment and I thought, yes, I do have a process. He said, "Would you be willing to give a program for a chapter about your process?" And I thought for a moment and I thought, oh, that would be so fabulous. Yes. He said, "Before you say yes, we have a couple of our chapter members who are working on their books. Would you be willing to coach them, just pro bono, coach them and have them write a book, their books, and then give a program about the process?" And I said, "Oh, yes, well, you had me give a program." So I coached these 2 women who were actually friends of mine. And very early on in the process, they said, "Have you ever thought about becoming a book coach?" And I said, "No. Is there such a thing? Is there a need?" And they assured me that there was. So I continued preparing for this presentation with that thought in my mind. And then when I gave my program, I've been a member of the National Speakers Association for more than 30 years. So my friends came up to me after my presentation and said, "Cathy, have you ever thought about becoming a book coach?" I could say then, yes, I have. So that was my journey, a very unexpected trip from HR consultant to book coach.
Amazing. And there's people listening maybe thinking like, well, I'm not interested in being a writer. I'm not looking to be an author. Maybe they're an accountant or they work in marketing. So what are the benefits to an entrepreneur of writing a book? Why should they? And do you have to be a writer or an author or someone that likes writing even to get a book published?
So let me just say this, first of all, I think that's a great question because the main thing I want people to hear is you do not need to be a writer in order to write. I do not consider myself a writer. I'm the author, though, of 12 books now and have helped more than 240 professionals become authors, but I do not like to write. I can write. It's hard work to write, but I believe in what writing can do for my business. And I want everybody to hear that. I think it is such a powerful tool for advancing your thought leadership, advancing visibility, promoting your platform, better than any other tool I know of. So I'm so convinced about writing and authorship as a tool. So no, you do not have to like to write or consider yourself to be a great writer.
And what are the benefits to your business if you decide to go down this path and you get a book published? What can you expect? Are you going to make income from the book, or is it more to add credibility? Like, where do you see people really seeing the benefits of all of this effort to write the book?
Yes. Well, there is monetary value in writing a book. I don't think it primarily comes from book sales, but it does come from other business around the book. What I hear from other authors, and there's also a study out that I just found, the ROI of nonfiction book writing. And it basically says that if you want to be more widely recognized, if you want to up your fees, if you want to get more speaking engagements, becoming an author is a wonderful way to do that.
And I know you've helped, countless authors get their books out.
Yes.
So do you have any sort of, and I know I don't want to ask people to pick between like their kids, right? Every book is special. Every client is special, but there's always like
Yes.
stories that stand out or, are fun to talk about. What are some of the book projects you've been involved in that interesting for some reason or another, and you'd love to talk about on the show?
Well, one of my authors wrote West Point Woman. She was an early graduate of West Point, and she had these remarkable stories of going through the leadership training that was part of the West Point experience. So she had been a speaker before this, but once she got her book written, she was wanting to get more speaking engagements, and she secured one. She found someone who was very, very interested in her book, her concept. When she shared the book with the CEO, he said, yes, I want to bring you in and I want you to speak to our entire employee population. And I also want to order a book for each of my employees, 1,700 employees. So this was a wonderful big payday for her. Not only did she get the speaking engagement, a high profile, wonderful client, and she was able to see book sales on top of her speaking fee. So it's a wonderful way to generate revenue as well as visibility. And I love that story.
I love that. That is great. And so for you've written a dozen books. What's next for you? What are your projects you have on your books to write list? I'm sure you have. I have a books to write list. I do. It's actually a living list. And every time I think, oh man, I should write a book about that. That would be great. I put it on this list of books I will someday write.
Yes, yes. Well, we should talk about that then, Flavia. Yeah, no, I'm always thinking about what's next. I just finished writing Writer Crisis Hotline with someone that I do a lot of coaching with and speaking with. We do writing workshops and retreats. Allie Pleiter is her name. So we authored that last year and actually the year before. And then we just came out with the audiobook this past year. So now that book is done, I'm just launching a new podcast. So that has been in the works. So I don't really have the writing project identified that is next. But one of the things I'm always thinking about is the transformational power of authorship. I haven't written that book, and I think there is a book there. So that may be what it's about.
And let's go a little bit into that podcast. I'm curious what kind of the podcast theme is going to be. Will it have guests? Will it be you teaching? What's your plan?
Well, it is produced and it just launched last week. It is just a short 5-minute podcast. It's going to run daily, Monday through Friday. And the idea is that I will give a very quick writing tip and I will give a writing prompt to help people think about a new way to approach their topic, whatever that topic might be. And then there's a writing challenge where I encourage folks to go on LinkedIn and post with the hashtag create content with Cathy, CC with Cathy, and share what they've written so that there's some level of accountability. So It's really fun. No guests, very short, but the idea is to introduce folks to the idea that writing doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be belabored. It can be something that you can do with just 2 minutes and a great prompt.
Love that. So traditional publishers back in the day, you'd sort of have to get a book agent to believe in your book and then put together these proposals and sell it to a big publisher. And then they would work on your book, get it into bookstores. It was a process, but I know today there's so many different paths someone can take. So what are some of those other paths?
Yes. And my first 5 books were traditionally published, and that was a fine way to start. But honestly, very, very few of my authors go the path of traditional publishing. It locks up your intellectual property, and basically you're turning over the copyright to others, which is something most of my authors don't want. It can take a long time to find the agent and get the proposal and then get them to publish your book. So that journey can be anywhere from 12 months to 18 months or longer, where doing hybrid publishing, self-publishing with help, with support, can be a wonderful alternative. So most all of my authors now are going the route of hybrid publishing, where someone helps you with the editing, the layout, the design, the cover, the putting it up on Amazon, the bestseller launch on Amazon, and so that you can sit back and be the entrepreneur that you are.
I love that. That's great. What are some of the things that you think hold people back? Because there's so many times you have a vision board or goals, lists of things you want to accomplish, but there's some reason you haven't reached it yet. For people who aspire to write a book, do you think there's sort of a common challenge that keeps people from achieving that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what people say and what it actually is are two different things, I might say. Most people say, I don't have time. And the truth of the matter is, yes, it takes time, but you can make it a priority. And there's some things that you can do in terms of blocking on your calendar, in terms of honoring the commitment. And there's some things that I do in my coaching that I help people with. So time usually isn't the big issue. Also, I teach people to write more quickly. Most people overthink their writing, and they want to make the perfect chapter, the perfect blog post, the perfect content piece, instead of just throwing up on the page and getting it out there. And doing it quickly is far better approach. And then cleaning it up later is better than trying to write perfection, because it's exhausting, it's time consuming, and it will really get you nowhere fast. So that's the one people think gets in their way. But the one that actually does is this notion of the imposter. Who am I to write a book? Who ever made me the expert on this topic? Why should I write when no teacher ever said I was a great writer? That is the kind of head trash that's going on in most people's mind when it comes down to writing their book. And that's where having a coach at your side is really, really helpful. First of all, it helps normalize the process, especially in a group coaching setting. But you learn that it's something that literally every author faces. My cohort, my co-author, Allie Pleiter, is a full-time writer. She has written over 70 books now, and she finds that this negative voice visits her for every single book. And because she is a productivity expert in her writing, she knows exactly the week that the negative voice will appear to tell her that she should give up her writing career, that this is the book that's going to tank that career, and so on. So getting through the head trash is really one of the biggest obstacles of writing that book.
And you're someone who finds time to do all the important things, which include writing a book. But I mean, I think you don't work 5 days a week, and certainly not the 7 days that a lot of entrepreneurs do.
No, and I have to say, I didn't start this overnight. When I started my new business 12 years ago, I didn't start by saying, I'm just going to work Tuesday through Thursday. I started working a regular work week, Monday through Friday. And then a colleague of mine said that she had strategically started carving out Friday afternoons as off time or quiet time or think about the business time. So I started doing that and it was so productive. And I found that I was still getting things done. I thought, well, let's just see about taking all of Friday off. And then that morphed over the years to several years ago. I morphed to this Tuesday through Thursday work week, and I love it. Now I work very, very hard those 3 days, and I pack a lot of productivity into those 3 days, but I'm very intentional about saying no to a lot of things that don't fit, saying yes to the things that bring me joy and or income, or ideally both, and things that will move my business forward. So I'm very intentional about how I go about my work day. And when I am working, I'm very, very productive and do everything I can to get it done. When I was in college, I hated to do homework on the weekends. And I guess it's sort of carried over to this notion of I'm going to get it all done those 3 days that I am working. And by the most part, I am able to do that.
Wow. That's amazing. I think there's people listening who are going to reevaluate their own calendars after hearing what's possible.
Yeah, I think you can fit in, you set your own boundaries, and it's amazing once you set the boundaries, you'll start saying no to some things that are just not that important, or they were maybe kind of interesting, but if it's that or free time, no, I want my free time. So you can start making really smart choices about your business. And I found that one way to get started with this is being intentional by crafting a mission statement that says, what are you about? What's important to you? What are your values? And then saying yes to those things that are a good fit and no to those that really don't fit.
Well, we always invite our guests to contribute something of value to our community, something that can help, something that is helping guide people along their paths, whatever those goals might be. And you've been super generous. You said that you can give access to an online program. I want to hear all about that. And as always, please let us know where we can go to it directly. But I also share everything in the podcast guest gift vault. So podcastguestgift.com is where we also make all of the either freebies or pieces of value. Everything that our guests have offered go into that vault. So tell us a little bit about what you'd like to offer to the audience.
Yes, I have an online program that I would love to make available, because some people can do the book on their own. They don't need a book coach. It's based on my first book on writing, On Your Mark, from first word to first draft in 6 weeks. And it's the online course. There are 6 modules that take you through the process of writing your book. And I'd also love to schedule a complimentary strategy session with any listener to talk about their idea for a book, or talk about whether it makes sense for them to pursue writing a book for their careers.
That's amazing. Cathy, thank you so much for everything you do for people, because I think we need more books in the world. Books are something.
I do too.
when you author a book, it outlives you. It's you putting yourself into this format where other people can literally read your mind, right? It's your words.
Yes.
You're giving them your knowledge, your information, your guidance, your mentorship through this medium that is so scalable. Millions of people can read a book you wrote once. And I love that about books. So thank you for all that you do out in the world. Any last thoughts that you want to share with the audience today on either ways to motivate them? Because we can all use some more motivation, especially when we're trying to achieve our goals and our dreams. And even just from your own experience, you've been through so much. What words of wisdom would you want to offer?
I think the word that I'd like to leave is to think strategically. If you're thinking about a book, think strategically about your book. What do you want it to do for your career, for your business? Do you want it to attract more clients? Do you want it to be the curriculum that you use when you are working with clients? How do you want to use it? And then think about creating the book that will drive that business. So don't just start writing from a strategic mindset by thinking first about your big why. What is your why? Why are you writing this book? And then the thesis, the targeted reader, the content outline. Think about those strategic elements as you begin, and you will be crafting a book that will support your forward momentum in spreading the good news about your content expertise.
Cathy, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing. Again, I'm the book nerd, and I just think you're like the midwife that's like brought all these books into the world. So
Yes.
I appreciate you very much. Cathy, thanks for your
Thank
time today
you.
and for sharing it with us. I know your time, as we've mentioned, is very valuable, but you took time out to be with us. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, and if you leave a review on iTunes, I promise I will read every single review. If you know someone who makes a full-time living from part-time work, and maybe this is you, please visit lifestylesolopreneur.com to nominate a guest or to nominate yourself. Because remember this, money doesn't buy happiness. But money in the hands of a happy person, there is no greater tool.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Get Shift Done program. It's a lifestyle-changing online class to help you define your business and lifestyle ambitions and to set goals in a way you've never experienced before. This class will 10x your daily productivity with methods that will blow your mind. And if you use a coupon code podcast, the class tuition is 99% off. Visit GetShiftDone.com to enroll today.